Hey, everybody. Happy hump day.
Yay.
Yay. Happy hump day.
So I put in the description when I created this that we were going to form a circle and keep all the evil spirits out while we talked about this. Kind of hard for us to form a circle.
Yeah. Everybody at home, just do this. This is our circle of protection.
Don't make me conjure up an orb to circle all of us, anyway.
This story that we're going to get into, it's really well known.
Yeah.
But it's one that I don't like talking about. I don't. It's
I like talking about it because I love Helen Mirren. If anybody saw the movie, Helen Mirren played her, and I love Helen Mirren, so I like the show. Or I like I like the movie, but it was kind of crappy movie, but it had Helen Mirren, so it was good. Okay.
Right. I'm just like, oh my goodness. But anyway, you see that Donnie Cho is missing.
For a few minutes anyway.
He's missing for a few minutes. He decided he was going to go out to dinner. Didn't invite us or anything.
Of course not. Of course not.
No. So he's out there enjoying some food. I'm like, that's not fair. I'm like, going out to dinner. What is that?
Yeah.
I don't even know anymore.
If you're going out to eat with Koreans, you're going to be saying, what is that a lot? Okay.
He's not even here to hear you say that. Oh my goodness.
I would have said it to his face. He knows that. Hey, there was a bunch of times that the Korean food we used to get around the army bases and stuff, wasn't quote unquote real Korean food. It was the Koreans that transposed over, but at least it was made by Koreans. I mean, so it had to be as close to authentic as you could get. But boy, I'm gonna tell you what. Now going over to the Ajima, and you out in the field, you got Ajima bringing your sodas and your kimchi and your ramens and stuff to you when you're out in the field. They ain't nothing like it.
Right. Yvette said doggy bags. That's what we need.
Yes. You
better
be careful. He will put them in a doggy bag and leave them there and bring them to us in September. You know that?
Yeah, he might. That would be typical Donnie doing that.
He would. Would he do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely, he would.
But
I got something for him. He says that he saw this book, and I'm gonna just pop this out. He said he saw this book, but I have this book to give him.
Oh,
okay. It's called KPOP Confidential. Now, I don't know how or why my daughter had this, but she said, "Hey, Mom, do you think Donnie would like it?" I said, "Okay." So I have to remember K-pop. This in September. Absolutely.
Are you sure he doesn't have it already? Because he is a fan.
He never admitted to having it. Now, that's not saying he don't. But I told him about the book. I showed him the book, and he says, "Oh, yeah, I've heard about that book." He never admitted having it.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's going to have 2 copies. He's absolutely going to have 2 copies.
And you can look at it this way. You're getting it out of your daughter.
We're just waiting for everybody to come on in and have a seat and get your favorite drink and snacks.
Root beer. I got root beer tonight. Yay!
I got my water. I'm good. It's been kind of a weird week. The heat is now starting to pick up here in the south, and now we're getting into a storm pattern that is going to be really odd. So everybody out there, from Nevada to the Ohio Valley, watch out for the next 7 days.
It seems like Tornado Alley has moved a little north.
It did. They're talking about that it is actually not moved but spread.
Well, that could be too, because we had one last week. So
because there was a whole article about it that it hasn't moved; it just spread. So all the tornadoes are not concentrated in one area; they are spreading out over the area. And you know what? It's going as far as Alabama.
Yeah. and into foothills and stuff. You're talking about into actual foothills of mountain ranges that you would never see this stuff happen before.
Right, right. So I didn't, I'm like, oh, okay, now is this again a product of global warming, or what are we talking about here? Are we talking about maybe the Earth? Of course, they've always had this theory that the Earth is tilting on its axis and it moves,
Yeah.
I don't know, a millimeter, every so
Yeah.
often.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this, because it's moved a few millimeters? I mean, is this something that we're going to be expecting every year from now on? Because if it is, I'm moving.
I'm thinking personally, just personal opinion, this from my scientific background, working with physical science and physics and such like that. The Earth, quite frankly, is probably starting to try and correct itself with the damage that's being done. It's trying to fix itself.
That's a possibility. That is a possibility. My other thing is they're talking about all these volcanoes erupting, all the earthquakes we're having. Maybe, the Earth plates are, shifting just enough to move the Earth a tad. And there's that.
Very well could be. Yeah. Yeah.
There's that.
Magnetic, and Rissel's right. Magnetic pole shift, that any shift of that magnetic pole, I mean, the axis may not be tilting, but the pole may be shifting, and that could cause some issues as well. So
I guess, what we need to start paying attention to is the hurricane paths, because they would either go up into the Gulf of Mexico, and hit all the states there, or they would totally miss and go on the other side of Florida. So let's check out what the hurricane season is going to be like.
Yeah. Because,
that will be very interesting to find out.
Think about last year. How many times in your lifetime have you heard of a hurricane going into Tennessee?
Right.
It's never happened that I know of. Oh, it's never happened in my lifetime that I can remember anyway. I mean, they always stayed on the coastal states.
Right. Well, no, because we got 2 last year here in Missouri.
Yeah.
It was Francine and I can't remember the other one, but one came in.
Something.
It was something. One came in from the west and one came in from the east.
Yeah.
It caused all this flooding, and I'm just like, how does that?
Well, it was Beryl. That's what it was. Beryl came up. Francine came from the East Coast to you guys, all the way through Kentucky into Kentucky area and to you guys, and then Beryl went up through Houston and then went straight up to you guys.
I know. I'm gonna have to move. It's like, okay, so I'm in a major earthquake place.
Yeah.
The New Madrid fault line. I'm sitting right on it. Now I'm getting hit by hurricanes. Now I'm in Tornado Alley. Okay. Do I build a bunker underground to survive, or what? What do I do?
That won't help you. That won't help you.
The flooding will get
just going to make it.
I can't win. I guess we're going to have to move to like Wyoming or Montana or something.
Well, I was reading an article today. They showed a picture from like June. It was probably a week or so back, but it said June 2nd. There was, I guess, even up in Yellowstone on the Biscuit Basin where they have the geothermal activity and stuff. They talk about a little minor eruption that happened, and they got this. It wasn't lava or anything like that, but this looked like almost like Old Faithful had just belched type thing. You know what I mean? This pond, or I say pond, this hot spring just belched up a whole bunch of mud and silt and stuff like that. It was the same one that had the little geyser happening last year. This year it did this, and they said they're calling it a little minor eruption is what they're calling it from the. And you know how big that caldera is. So
right. Well, and with this shift, paranormally speaking, I'm going to go to that. The ley lines are changing, and they're forever changing. But I mean, are we going to see, this uptick in paranormal activity in places that didn't necessarily have it before? And we're going to be seeing much, much more of this activity, because we talk about Skinwalker Ranch and all these other places that have similar activity. And are we going to be seeing a shift in that of less activity at those locations and more activity in other places?
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see over the next couple years. I mean, we can make sure that we're paying attention to cryptid reports and, just new paranormal activity. What did she say?
She
George
said
has been
Brandi.
very active. George has been very active at work. Yes, she has a ghost at work with her.
Yeah.
And thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly.
It's but it's going to be amazing over the next couple of years to watch exactly where these reports are going, because I mean the map's out now where the most reports are coming in at.
Yeah.
Missouri, believe it or not, is I think in the top 5.
Yeah,
for Bigfoot reports. Yeah.
Your seismic activity up there is about to go off the chart, I think. And if there ever is a major, and I hate to even think this, because if it does happen, we're talking, it could wipe out the majority of the United States. If there is an actual major eruption from Yellowstone, it may not quite reach me down here, but Missouri's damn near gone.
Well, they were talking about that too. Any type of earthquake or seismic activity is going to widen the Mississippi.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're talking about widening the Mississippi, I don't really live that far from it.
Yeah.
You're
close. You're close.
I'm close. I'm very, very close. So, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how all of this volcanic and seismic activity is going to affect what's going on in the world that we talk about every day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's going to be scary, but yet exciting to find out.
Yeah. It's going to be.
If nobody's paying attention to this research-wise, by golly,
well,
we should.
Idiots. They've got to be documenting this stuff. They've got to be.
And please do. If you're out there and you're a researcher and you are, really, really just documenting everything, your ecosystems, everything. Pay attention to what's happening with the with the world. Pay attention to it, because it's getting kind of crazy out there.
Yeah, and I sit there and think about it, because we talked about this stuff, and I know there's people out there saying, well, I keep track of this, or I keep track. We've got NOAA and the National Weather Service that have kept records for probably the last 100 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm betting that they've got some sort of established timeline of how things change over the course of a certain amount of decades and such, because you can't measure this per year. You just can't measure it per year. It just doesn't work that way.
No, and it makes me wonder if it's pushing our world into not the next ice age, but the next major Earth change.
Yeah, kind of just something. It might be coming this way.
Because they're talking about the next major Earth change is going to produce a lot of islands versus what we have as continents. So, that is kind of exciting, but not.
Would that mean everybody gets to be tropical?
Yeah, everybody gets to have their own island. Now it may be cold there.
Everybody start working their cacas and get them ready to go.
Right. No, it's not. Not everybody's going to be warm, but there, like I said, with all the activity going on, it'll be interesting to watch what the cryptid community is going to do in the next couple of years.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see. It may be, maybe something will happen in our lifetime that will change something, or it may not. But the thing is, it's coming.
Yeah. That's and quite frankly, a person is smart. A person or persons is smart. People are stupid. Okay. That's just all there is to it. We're stupid.
All I know is I'm going to follow Bigfoot. I'm following Bigfoot.
Wherever he goes.
Like I said, if they pick him up and they that he's in, like I said, Wyoming or Montana a lot, that's where I'm going. I'm going.
Well, if there's an eruption, Wyoming won't be there. So
that too, we don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see. So anyway, hi Donnie, how was dinner?
It was good. It was very nice.
We were very mad that you didn't bring us any doggy bags.
Yeah, didn't even ask us to go.
No.
Oh yeah, you guys unfortunately are in completely different states, so
that's not the point.
That had nothing to do with it.
But don't worry, we will be breaking bread, not bed.
What again?
Breaking bread at the conference.
Hey, I pitch, I don't catch. Okay.
Here we go.
You guys try to have me bunk with Jason McLean. I'm like, heck
well,
no.
Yeah, y'all gonna spoon.
No, man.
Jason said he's gonna take a picture and everything.
I don't want to see that dude snoring and stuff. Nah.
Oh, good Lord. Anyway, what they're talking about is the conference, the Crossing Realms conference at the Eagleton Civic Center from the 19th and 20th. We have a new poster out there from Jason.
I haven't got it up.
He hasn't got it up yet. I don't think he even has the other new one out. This is like the first one.
Hey, look at the top part. Don't look at the lower parts, okay?
Anyway, just to let you know that, we are selling different tickets for the conference on Saturday. We have the meet and greet Friday night, and we've added a new activity, social activity, Thursday evening. It's going to be at the Big River Ranch, and we're going to have social night. We're just going to put it like that, social night. And like I said, it's all for all ticket holders. So make sure you get your tickets. And when we run out of tickets, we're not selling anymore because of something about like a fire hazard or something. Fire department said no more than this many people in the building. We'll have to stop. So make sure you get your tickets and don't wait till the last minute to get them. Just to let you know.
Just think. You could go to the Thursday night hootenanny, as I'll call it. You go to Thursday night hootenanny, get completely blitzed, and still have time to sleep it off Friday before you get to do the Friday stuff.
Exactly. And we'll make sure, that we can call a cab or whatever you need. So drink responsibly, everybody. And, better safe than sorry, just to say. But anyway, so here we are. Let's dig into this because this is...
We're gonna dive in, huh? Is that what you want me to do?
Yeah, because this is the place that really just creeps me out because there is no rhyme or reason. Well, there's a reason, kooky reason for this house. Yes.
Yep.
This is the Winchester Mansion for everybody. And we're going to go ahead and let Randy kind of tell us about what this is if you've not heard about it or you can't remember. We're going to give you a little backstory on it.
Yeah. Well, the Winchester House, I mean, everybody's heard of it in some way, shape, or form when it comes to paranormal activity and paranormal researchers. Everybody's heard of this. It's like bucket list stuff for people a lot of times. But Sarah Winchester started building this. This was their ranch that her and her husband William had. And when he died in 1881, she inherited half of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company and a $20 million now this is 1881, $20 million estate. Okay. So she's got money to blow, in other words.
And Winchester rifles were like the biggest deal back then.
Yeah, because they were repeaters. They were repeaters. You did not have to sit there and redo flint. You didn't have to redo the flintlock. You didn't have to pack it. You just put the cartridge in and get going.
Yep.
Okay. Well, as I was reading through this stuff and I was looking at it, I was like, okay, well, she was actually born in Connecticut, which most of the Winchesters were from that area, if I'm not mistaken. But when they got out there and bought that ranch, and after William died, she kind of started, I don't want to say go off the deep end, but she really kind of did. Okay?
No, she jumped.
Okay. All right. I don't want to say it like that because I want to give her props because, quite frankly, she didn't care what was built. Okay. She really did not care what was built as long as the building never stopped. The reasoning behind this was because she thought that the many souls of people whose lives were taken by the repeating arms of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, that they were tormenting her. They were following her, and the only way to keep them at bay was to build on this house to where they could not find her. That was her entire, conception of it. If it has all this strange stuff going to strange places, it would confuse the spirits and they could not find her, so she could get some peace. Yeah. Now, okay, we've jumped 100% now by this point. Okay. Now, they built, and she started building in, let me see, what was it? Let's see, 1884. Her husband died 1881. And yeah, next 38 months. Okay, 38 years. Okay, in 1884, for the next 38 years, reports claim that property would be constantly under construction 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it kept going until her death in 1922. So, okay.
I don't understand. I don't. Okay, go ahead. I don't understand, but go ahead.
Yeah, you think I do? I mean, honestly.
Well, I mean, I can understand, but I mean, could you like build something intricate instead of just keep adding rooms? I mean, it didn't have to go on this massive scale that she continued, like room after room. You didn't have to really do that. I mean, if you wanted to, you could do like awesome woodwork that would take a long time and all kinds of tile work. And, you know, hey, I don't know. I don't know why she chose the major construction route with it.
Well, and originally, you know, they said that it was their ranch house or whatever, but technically he was never there because he was in Connecticut with her. The following, it says she lost many family members during that time. In 1865, she lost an infant daughter. She lost her father in 1869. She lost her mother in 1880. She lost her father-in-law and her husband in 1881, and then her sister in 1884. That's when she really started nailing it, and she left Connecticut and went out to San Jose, California. Within a few months, she'd already added more than a dozen rooms to the new home that she had with the intention of accommodating two little sisters and their families. And that's when it started and kept going for 38 years. So,
well, let's talk about what she did in the house. Let's talk about some of the rooms and things that she had done.
Here's a little archive photo for the stairwell that goes, you know, two stairwells going different ways. Now, it doesn't show up very well in this, but they're down here at the bottom of this stairwell. This is an archive, like I said. There is an inlet coming in, so it's like you come up and they got these two stairwells branching off of each other. Then you got that one, and let's see the doorway to nowhere. Let me see where we at. There we are. The infamous doorway to nowhere. What's it there for? You know?
Well, doesn't that seem dangerous? I mean,
oh yeah, especially when you get pictures like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on, guys, don't play up there. It'd be my luck. I'd be going through that little roof right there.
Right. I don't know.
You know, she did some stuff. I mean, and I'm gonna show you some of the exteriors. I mean, because the exteriors really were kind of cool looking. I mean, look at your corner area right here. That's a lot of articulate and very fine craftsmanship. I shouldn't say it really mean like it, because these guys put some serious work into this craftsmanship of this house.
There's a lot of work that went into that.
Yeah. The basic structure, the architecture is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very beautiful in its own right. Yeah.
Yeah, because they actually said that her and her husband, while they were in Connecticut, were into the architecture, newer architecture, and that's what they were doing there in Connecticut as well. So maybe she used this as a, you know, more of a hey, let's see if throw this against the wall if it sticks type thing. You know what I mean? Maybe she liked to use that to test designs out. I mean, you break out. You know, I mean, it's all over the house. You know?
Yeah. I mean, she did report that seeing spirits in the home.
Yes.
And she, you know, and she didn't know who they were. She just automatically assumed that these were, you know, people who had been, people who had passed away by the Winchester rifle.
Yeah.
So
that's what she said. Now,
Yeah, 'cause
this was
she
the
didn't
time of
know.
spirituality movement too. This is during that time frame. So she probably had somebody gifted in her ear saying what they were, probably letting her kind of leaning
Yes.
her that way.
Yes, she did. Yes, she
Mhm.
did. I don't know if they were a self-proclaimed psychic or whatever it was, but they were the ones
Yeah.
that told her she would have to keep building. So she did. Um, uh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what everybody else thinks about this, but I don't get why she would have to keep building.
And it does nothing ever says other than the fact that she says that she stated that she just wanted it continuously being built and that it was to quote unquote to appease the spirits. Now I'm looking at where it stands today. Okay, now I'm gonna look. Here's one from 1906. This is right after the San Francisco earthquake in 1906, and it has some damage happen right then. Hey, that. Quite frankly, Michelle, that's a bucket list thing for me. I want to visit it. I don't want to do an actual, investigation there, but I would love to visit just to see the house itself.
I don't know. I think I would want to, just because of, you never know what you're going to run into. But
Yeah.
I mean, even through those years, those decades of her to keep building, she was still seeing spirits. So I'm not,
Yeah. So
like I said,
they're there.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I don't get what the whole thing, the hubbub was about. I mean, keep building for what? I mean, I wonder if it became just a thing that she was known for. So she just kept doing it.
Yeah. That last one was in the 1960s, by the way, that one right there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah, I'm with you. I don't,
because after a decade and you're still seeing spirits, I mean, I would have taken the advice and chucked it. You know what I mean? I said, this is not
because
working.
it ain't working.
Right. It's not working. But I mean, I think she just became that lady.
Yeah.
And she just kept up that persona that she'll always keep building on that house. I mean, there was no rational thought in her mind to keep building if she's still seeing these apparitions and other things that are happening in her home.
Quite frankly, I don't want to get anybody mad at me by saying it, but she turned into a crazy cat lady is what she did. It sounds like.
Kinda. She came obsessed.
Yeah.
She came obsessed.
You know what it looks like today? This is what it sounds like today when you hear about this I'm gonna put a picture of it up right here with this one. This is what it says today. It stands as 4 stories, 160 rooms, 24,000 square feet, constructed mostly out of redwood on less than 5 remaining acres. They used to have hundreds of acres, but there's only 5 remaining acres because the city has taken over a lot of it.
Right.
But the home has 2,000 doors. A lot of them leading just into blank walls. You open it, and of course, you see the infamous door to nowhere. But yeah, they lead into blank walls. 10,000 windows, some interior facing. You got windows and stained glass inside the house, and you'll see this in a couple of the other pictures. 47 fireplaces, 17 chimneys, 40 stairways, and at least one of which leads up to a ceiling. Literally stairway to the ceiling. 40 bedrooms, 2 ballrooms, 1 complete and 1 unfinished, 13 bathrooms, 6 kitchens, 3 elevators, 2 basements, and a wood-paneled Venetian-inspired dining room. And that's where it stopped, because when she died, all construction stopped.
I don't know. I don't know, Johnny. What do you think?
Well, I'm sure, Randy, you've read the controversy, right? Because Brandi, here's the thing. We all heard the legends about the Winchester Mystery House, about how she went crazy, she felt guilt-ridden, yada, 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 became superstitious. There's a whole argument against this whole thing. I'm sure, Randy, you're familiar. The skeptical perspective.
Yes,
100%. And we're going to get into that too, right?
A little bit,
just let the people decide for themselves, because because this was a very quickly planned topic, guys, a little like behind the curtains look. But so when I was working at work doing my job, I was just briefly like looking through the Mystery House stuff, and I found a lot of stuff that was actually kind of counter to all the, I guess, accounts of Sarah Winchester being this crazy lady who was so guilt-ridden that she made. Okay. And then the other thing is, this leads to the question, right? The legend goes that this house was essentially designed to house spirits, right?
Mm-hmm. To keep them at bay, to keep them confused,
right?
Quote unquote, yeah.
Right. So that got me thinking, what if you had to actually make a haunted house? What if you had all the resources you could ever want, all the money, all the ability to, all the construction people, and someone came up to you, right? And they were like, Brandi, I want you to build me a super haunted house. Build the house, but then make it haunted. Mm-hmm. What would you do?
Well, I mean, if are you talking about in today's world or back then?
Well, we could do it in today's world or back then, either way. For the thought experiment, either way works.
Right, right. Well, I am a firm believer that spirits are everywhere. I don't believe that all spirits are actually stuck in one area, that there are transient ghosts. So basically, I would just openly start talking and investigating in an area, which again will attract other ghosts into the area because you can see them, you can hear them, you can do that thing. And, over time, it will eventually have its own set of spirits.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely do that.
Or you could just build a regular house and just have mad Ouija board sessions up in there, right?
Or seances, or all that kind of stuff. Yes.
Well, now that you mention that about the seances, there were nightly seances there at one time too. The Winchester staff who spent every day with her stated she had no interest in seances, and there's no record of them being held in the house. However, there's an urban legend that has risen claiming that they had nightly seances in the Blue Room.
Oh my gosh, you're right. And then the other thing is that she's sitting there and she's totally putting her energy into these spirits. And I'm wondering if, because we've talked about 1,000 times, did she actually manifest them herself? Did she just think about it so much that she created her own problem?
Yeah, I could not tell you. Could not tell you for sure, because that she literally, like we said, we're both of the same mindset. She has probably gone off the deep end at this point. She's had a lot of death in her life. She's had a lot of her family.
She did have a lot of death in her life.
A lot of death. Well, so that's enough to weigh on anybody, obviously.
Well, and depression's a big deal. Depression's a big deal.
And they didn't know about that back then,
Yeah, because we always say, if you're not in tip-top shape, don't go ghost hunting.
Oh,
don't do it.
It's gonna magnify it big time.
Right. And it's just gonna draw what? Spirits to you, because you're putting off energy. It doesn't matter what kind of energy. It could be happy energy, it could be sad energy, anger, it could be anything, but it will put out energy to just draw these things in. So that's the odds were stacked up against her anyway.
Yeah, quite frankly, yeah.
I honestly don't think that she, as a person before her husband died, was very stable anyway.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the spot where the moving to California. This is when we were talking about the movement to California, when we were talking about the medium that we said kind of coaxed her on. It happened in New England, in Boston, and a medium named Adam Coons is the one that told her she and her family were being haunted by the ghosts of people killed by Winchester rifles, and she must construct a house for these ghosts, and that she must never complete the project. So there's the foundation. She's already in this fragile state of mind to start with. And I don't know how much this dude probably made off of her. He probably made a ton off of her, quite frankly. Had to. I mean, either that or he owned the property. One of the two.
Who would suggest that? Who would say that?
Yeah.
Who would say just keep building, just keep spending your money? Just keep doing it for the rest of your life. Just keep doing it. Who would say that? You know,
I'm a psychic medium, but I also moonlight as the head of a small construction company.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's got you dumbfounded. That's why I don't like talking about this house.
Well, yeah, because it's beyond our normal mindset to fathom how she could continually do this, but she obviously truly believed it, or she wouldn't have suck her money.
Well, when you've got this psychic medium saying,
especially during that time frame,
right? Hey, you've got to build this house. I mean,
so
honestly, who would do that? I don't know. You know, a reputable psychic medium would be like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what you need to do to cleanse, to clear, to soothe your soul, do whatever. But building a house when the construction never ends for the rest of your life is not something that a psychic medium would tell you to do.
Do they have actual historical records of the psychic medium?
They had a name. That's all I got of them is a name. Adam Coons was the one that told her. Now, this was, it was based on Joe Nickel, the Joe Nickel, the Skeptical Inquirer guy.
Yeah.
He wrote it actually in October 2002. Wrote a book called Winchester Mystery House: Fact versus Fancy. And of course, I like Joe Nickel. He pisses off a lot of people with his views and stuff, but he's very down to earth with the stuff he actually states. So when he says something about it, I tend to kind of think, okay, well, I need to look at it kind of the way he's looking at it now.
And he acknowledges that she did, in fact, have contact with the psychic medium who told her these things?
Yes, he's the one that he found that out on that, and there's a couple other footnotes on it. But either way, when I read that he was the one that first wrote about it, wrote about it once, and that he could have got it from other avenues as well, but he usually vets his stuff pretty good. So,
well, I mean, okay, so we know that Stephen King wrote a book called Rose Matter.
Rose Red. That was Rose Red. We talking about the hospital?
It's called Rose Matter.
Okay.
And it's about a house. It's pretty much the same thing. The same thing is happening in this house. So they're building and building and building. It's kind of like the same type of story.
Yeah.
They had a movie about it, and I don't know. It might have been Rose Red when they made the movie, but the book was called Rose Matter.
The movie was called Rose Red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the book was called Rose Matter. Yeah. And because I always read Stephen King's books before I even watched the movie, because books
100%.
His books are terrifying, and I can't even say that any better. Terrifying. No. But his movies, they kind of have some type of lackluster when it comes to putting across what the book gave you in your mind visual. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the movie It, okay, let's just take that one. The movie It, that book scared me even worse. And it was a lot different than the movie.
So we're talking about the original or new ones?
The original.
Okay.
It. Yeah. Because it's a lot different than the movie. I mean, it's got the same plot, but it gets really weird. And it, like I said, it doesn't come across in the movie as quite as the book would scare you to death. But the Rose Matter, it was just about the same thing. And I'm like, was he writing about the Winchester House? Was he writing something similar to that?
Might have. And I just looked it up. Rose Red is not connected to it. Rose Red was just a mini series that he co-wrote. He didn't write a book about it or anything. It was just he wrote it. But
he did a few of
Rose
those.
Matter, he did write, and they were going in '96. They were going to do a movie on it with HBO, but it hasn't never been made. So
but Rose Matter was made.
Yeah, was the name of the book? Yes, 100%. Yes, and I missed it somehow. That's the one Stephen King I have never read. Yes.
Well, wait a minute. Now that I'm thinking about it, isn't that what the woman called the house? Rose Red in the movie.
No, well, yeah, but there is no movie was called on Rose Red. Yeah, the miniseries was Rose Red, but that was a separate story written by Stephen King for that movie alone. It wasn't a book. He wrote the screenplay for it.
Yeah, but that's a lot along with. That's kind of like what he does a lot with his books. You know, he'll take one of his books and make a mini series and things like that. And I do miss his stuff. I mean, he's got a lot of good stuff. But I mean,
I miss that period in the like late 80s, early 90s when it was just all these Stephen King miniseries coming out on TV.
Yeah, the Langelers.
Oh man, remember The Stand? That series?
Yes.
That miniseries was awesome.
That was so good.
But that was the only way you could have told The Stand is in a miniseries.
Yeah.
Much like this Gunslinger movie that was out a couple of years ago.
Oh, that was garbage.
It's like they try to mash all of them together, and I'm like, but now they're getting ready to do another one, which is going to be, they're going to kind of spread it out by book. But anyway, sorry, I digress. Anyway, yes, the Rose Matter, I'm going to read it now because I want to see if it does kind of perpetuate the same thing as what the Winchester House does.
Yeah, see if you can find it. He might even done an adapted book, Rose Red, so you might want to find that.
Yeah, if he did an adapted to it, like when the Green Mile came out, originally it wasn't a novel; it was a 6-set series.
And I
had all the little thin books. You know, what the heck? I blurred there. Anyway, I got all the little books, all 6 of them bad boys, and I read them all before the movie ever even got thought about being made. So
I know, but that movie was awesome.
Yeah,
hell yeah, it was.
That movie
all
was
of his
awesome.
movies. If he has a hand in it, usually it's awesome. So
right, Joe Pop said that the Dark Tower series. If you've not read that series, that's a fantastic one too.
Yes, I've read all of them too.
Yeah,
that's why I think that movie was so dang bad.
Like, For Your Mind's Stand was her all-time favorite book. Wow,
yeah, it's one of the best ones. It's one of the best ones. It really is.
Knockers. Yep.
Yeah,
my wife hates the Tommy Knockers.
Oh, we got a question for Brandi.
Yep.
Brandi, question. Who owns the house now? And even though the shows go there, do they open for ghost tours?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to overstep you on that. But
no,
yes,
that's okay. Yes, they do. They do have ghost tours. I don't know if they're open for overnight investigations. I don't think so. But I do know they're open for tours. And who owns it now? I'm not sure who owns it now. I think the Historical Society's got it.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is for that area. I'm trying to find the actual.
Winchester Investments LLC is who owns it.
There you go.
Okay. So they didn't turn it over to the Historical Society. Okay.
And it is, I'm going to give you the actual, I'm going to put it in the chat so you guys got it. I'm giving you the actual link to their site. You can do garden tea parties. I mean, they do stuff there all the time. Daily mansion tours, paranormal investigations. They
got it open for that now?
Yes, they got it open for everything now.
But the problem is you have to go to San Jose. Ew.
Yeah, that's the problem. I got to go to California for it.
I only have to stay in San Jose one night. That's all I got to do.
I used to live in San Francisco, and going over to San Jose, I was like, ew.
Okay.
Well, see, my niece lives in Coronado Island.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, there you go.
That's fine with me. I only got to stay in San Jose for one night. That's it. Yeah. And then I can travel on.
Yeah.
So you got Paranormal Investigations. They have this. I'm just looking at the scroller, the ticker, daily mansion tours to get tickets and stuff. And they do private events and weddings too.
Yes.
So they got an online store. They got paraphernalia and merchandise like crazy. So I'm telling you.
I want to go there just to check out the architecture, actually.
That's what I want to go for.
Yeah, I want to see what the house looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to see it now. After looking at these pictures, I mean, I got one here, this room. I'm going to see if I can find the one with the room.
I just want to go in and get lost.
Yeah.
This is the organ room. I mean, come on. That is freaking amazing. Look at that architecture.
Yeah. I just want to go in and get lost.
Yeah.
I don't want to go on a tour. I don't want somebody to show me the way out. I just want to get lost. Me and my equipment and go.
We're going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll make it out somehow.
Oh, here's another one. This is you see the mirror in the middle of this one. That one goes up to nothing. Goes up to the ceiling there. Obviously, they roped it off because somebody's gone up there and gotten messed up something, but still.
There's, I've seen a lot of things on TikTok and YouTube and things like that, that stairs leading to nowhere is more common than what you think it is. It's like they had some plans to connect the floors through a stairway, and then they just didn't open it up, or like it was an afterthought, and they just didn't finish.
To your point, Brandi, I was reading a whole bunch of like skeptical arguments against the mystery house, and one of the points about all those stairs that led to nowhere was just it wasn't so much paranormal as it was more very poor planning.
Right, like it was an afterthought. Like, okay, this looks like a great place for some stairs, and then they figured out, hey, we can't even open up the floor here.
Yeah,
can't do that. And I mean, I guess if you're sitting there and you're hired by her to keep building and building and building, you'd have to come up with ideas somewhere. And I mean, you're not going to have like months to plan.
No,
it's kind of like once you run out of ideas, you got to come up with more ideas. And there's only so far that they could expand on this thing.
Yeah. And it's been expanded and tore down in parts too. They've taken some parts down.
Yeah.
And rebuilt around it, but again, it's always top of the line stuff.
Yeah, I think it's poor planning. Again, what Donnie said. I think that's why they had to tear it down, because they couldn't, I don't know, add on to it or do it the way they want to be done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But everything that was built is all top of the line building. You know what I mean? It's all top of the line construction. It is very ornate, and I'm just like, oh, golly, what the
I don't
know. Gotten into this woman. But did you do a meme this week yet, Donnie? Did you put one up there?
I've got a couple actually.
Okay, well,
let me load them first. Hold on. You can say the theme while I load it.
Because if you don't, I was just going to sit there and tell everybody, "Hey, I love you."
All right, go ahead and play the theme. I got it.
Okay, I just want everybody to know I do believe in them.
Yes, every week.
Every week, I believe in all of you.
Mm-hmm.
I got to find that. Oh wait.
Donnie Cho, meme of the week.
All right, simple little picture. I was gonna do a theme. I was gonna do another song for the Winchester Mystery House. I ran out of time because obviously I had plans. So I prepared this little picture here instead. This cute little picture. They're saying, "You want us to build what?"
Oh my gosh!
I rewired it.
The handyman's worst nightmare.
I'm telling you. Please do not let Tim Allen get up there. Correction. Don't let Tim the Toolman Taylor get up there.
It would take him 38 years to build a regular house, I think.
And earlier, you guys were talking. This is from earlier today. Remember, we were talking about tornadoes in Missouri,
right?
Yeah. And I shared this with the group chat. Meanwhile, while Krista was ducking for cover, the only good tornado, the Texas tornado.
And then I tried to remember, did Donnie ever actually see him wrestle? Maybe he did.
Well, when I sent that,
I don't know who this guy is, so this doesn't.
That is Carrie Von Erich.
The Texas
I don't
tornado.
know who that is.
You should.
We need to have.
I'm not a wrestling fan.
Are you a fan of humanity?
Is just not cool.
Are you a fan of existence?
No.
Are you a fan of great mullets?
No. Definitely not.
That's all they had.
That's as far as beautiful mullets go. I mean,
that's the way it goes. That's it right there.
It goes. Anyway, I did feel a little bit awkward afterwards because I was like, "Oh man, am I being insensitive right now?" Because Chris is literally talking about like hiding under her desk. Meanwhile, I sent this meme. Am I coming off as insensitive?
We didn't care.
Well, Donnie, and it may be to somebody else, but her and I have been ducking a lot lately.
Yeah.
So it's just it's kind of like this is what
take it
we
on
do.
The chin. Take it on the chin.
This is what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
It's just it's like we got nowhere to go. It doesn't matter where we go. There's gonna be a tornado. So we're just so used to it now that we get excited and then we're like, okay. All right. Next.
Wow.
And
Next
that's what we
victim.
do. Next.
Yeah, it's like every few weeks Godzilla comes rolling through your town.
I know. How many times have you heard me in our group chat going, hey, I got another tornado warning, blah, 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 blah. Just got the warning from the sheriff's department because that's how I have to get mine because I don't have, a siren or anything close that I can hear. But did I tell you guys that one time just a few months ago in the series of tornadoes that we had, that I walked outside when all this was happening and it was dead quiet. And then I could hear a tornado siren from I think it's 8 miles from my house.
Holy crap.
That's how quiet it was. There was nothing, no birds chirping, no crickets, no frogs.
Yeah, they're all smart enough to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, they're not like they're not like people where we run outside. There's an actual hailstorm going on.
Well, I didn't know what was going on because they were talking about this tornado, blah, blah, and I'm not hearing nothing. I'm not hearing nothing. And then I'm standing out there and I hear the siren.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's 8 miles from my house. That's a long way. And I never hear this
But
thing.
you notice the silence before the siren, right?
Yes.
The silence.
The silence was first, and then I heard the siren.
That's kind of scary, actually.
And then, in a minute and a half after the siren started, the wind started picking up real hard, and I said, "Oh gosh!"
When you go outside and you hear that silence, you're just like, either there's a Bigfoot nearby, or we about to have a tornado.
I'd much rather have a Bigfoot. I'd take a Bigfoot any day to a tornado. Thank you.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yep.
I ain't scared. Even though I got 2 cars that got to get new freaking windshields, and my little maroon car, my daughter's little maroon car looks like somebody took a ball peen hammer to the son of a gun.
Yeah, I mean you can shoot a Bigfoot, you can't shoot a tornado.
Yeah.
Well, I would. I could stand 10 feet away from Bigfoot and be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I can't stand 10 foot next to a tornado and be okay.
Right.
Haven't you watched Tornado or Twister with Bill Paxton and
the cows?
Hunt, that's right.
Look, we've got cows.
Yeah. But they were sitting there holding on to that thing, when it blew by, they were holding on and got into the eye of the tornado. I'm going to tell you all right now, I don't think there's an eye to a tornado, and I'm not ever going to find out, okay? I think that's BS for the movie. It's all that she wrote.
They kind of portrayed that as like a hurricane. And I'm like, that's not, because the eye of a tornado is not clean. It's picking up dirt and debris and it's throwing it everywhere. So,
Yeah.
That was for the movie.
That's what's going to kill you, the debris flying through the air.
Yeah.
Right. What was I going to say about tornadoes? I don't know why we're even off on this subject. But there was a tornado. I can't remember exactly where it was, but they said the tornado was so intense and that it traveled very, very slow, and that it would concentrate itself in one area for 3 minutes.
It stayed in one area for 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Actually in contact with the ground.
In contact with the ground.
Holy
and that they said that people who had houses, cars, or anything, there was absolutely nothing left. That it was like just torn into particles. That there was nothing left that was recognizable if you could even find it.
Right.
That would rip the grass and the top layer of soil off.
It took everything.
What was that, like an F5?
What's that?
Was it like an F5?
I don't know. I don't know. I know it was a strong tornado, so I
F4s are pretty bad too. Yeah.
I consider anything from a 3 to a 5 pretty dang strong. I mean, any tornado could be horrible.
But to sit there stationary like that, like you're talking about, almost
for 3 minutes. You can look it up on YouTube, everybody. I can't tell you when and where that was, but it was 3 minutes in one stationary location. I remember that, and I was like, oh my God, because people we watch these tornadoes and they're over within 30 seconds to a minute as they blow by. You know, the strongest part is gone in 30 seconds to a minute. Gone.
Yeah, thereabouts, yeah.
But if you can consider this stationary for 3 minutes, I don't know.
Okay, Ike says that was the May 3rd or 6th tornado that hit Moore, Oklahoma.
Okay, if it's the one that stood steady for 3 minutes, it was a slow moving tornado, but it stood stationary for 3 minutes. I'm not sure if it's more. I watch documentaries on tornadoes all the time. I don't know why. It's fascinating. Kind of like watching the crime documentaries and things like that. It's a thing. I'm fascinated.
Documentaries in general.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just fascinated. But man, I'll tell you what, it was something else.
That's just that. Quite frankly, because just as growing up in this area and dealing with tornadoes my entire life for the most part, never once have I ever heard one sitting in one spot for 3 minutes. It literally is as fast as you look up and see it coming through. It's within 30 seconds. It's already past you.
I don't know. I don't know. But Donnie, what do you have up there? I mean, I know you don't have the tornado things, but what is your major weather thing?
Nothing. Everything, it seems to just barely miss this part of Maryland. And I am so lucky. And I think someone up there really likes me. Like every time there's a hurricane will hit North New Jersey or South, like North Carolina or Virginia. But they will always just miss Maryland.
Skip right over you.
So tornadoes, same thing. There was a tornado. I think that we had a tornado warning once since I moved here. We had like one dinky little tornado up in New Jersey, but nothing. But New Jersey gets hit with hurricanes.
Yeah.
But no, nothing. Nothing. Yeah, nothing at all. Nothing.
I lived there for 5 years in the DC area.
I think I'm moving up there. So. Yeah. I'm moving up there.
Yeah. Well, make sure you're ready for some snow.
And the food here is really good.
I'm originally from Michigan. You know, I don't care about snow. That's fine.
No big deal.
Yeah. I can
the winters aren't too bad here. I think it only snowed like twice. Like it was bad twice this winter. Really? That was it. And yeah, you should move here. There's some good food. We got great seafood.
Inner Harbor's great. I love Inner Harbor.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got a place to go.
There's crab shacks everywhere.
If you're tired of it, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. If you're tired of all this weather, but because I am, like I said, this whole thing about where we've been seeing Bigfoot for the last 50, 60 years and have reported it. I mean, because we've got a lot of reports from the last 50 and 60 years. I want to see where they go.
Well, you would follow them?
Because I think they're kind of smart. If they can keep themselves away. I mean, because we always know that animals are more in tune to, weather happenings versus what humans are. Do I know if Richmond, Missouri was hit with anything yesterday? Not to my knowledge. Now, there could have been wind damage. There could have been other things, but I do not think a tornado hit them. Yeah, we were wondering about that too. It's just been a mess here. Kansas City to St. Louis, it has been hit like crazy this year, and so is us down here. But of course, I'm in the path of Texas. So something and goes through Texas, goes right up through Arkansas, and guess who gets it? Me. I get that. So even though Krista and I are in the same state, we have different weather patterns because the way that the wind in the trough comes is it comes on top of her, and then there's a big, like just empty section in the middle, and then I have the trough from, the Gulf of Mexico that comes down below, and then everything in the center is what gets, all of this activity. Well, guess where that is? Right in my area. So I'm patiently awaiting more to happen.
Amanda's Crazy Life says California doesn't have tornadoes or alligators, but California's got its own set of, let's just say, issues.
It has the earthquakes and volcanoes, which they're talking about all over, and wildfires. I mean, they're talking about just the whole earthquakes and volcanoes is going to be astronomical if they have, 2 or 3 at the same time erupting, or it's kind of like where I live on the New Madrid fault line. If they have this major earthquake, they keep talking about Texas will be devastated. So our California will be devastated. Missouri definitely will be devastated, and anybody within probably 200 miles of this fault line will be devastated. Yeah. So
what's the one state that doesn't have crazy weather? I'd say probably Maryland.
For the most part, but now Superstorm Sandy, when it came through a few years back, that messed y'all up.
My area, it didn't get hit that bad, honestly.
Really?
Like other parts got hit, but like I'm telling you, I'm like right outside. I'm in the suburbs of Baltimore, and every time there's been like some kind of crazy weather event, it always just misses us.
I see. I don't understand.
It knows Donnie's there, and it's scared of making everybody have to deal with him, so they want to make sure you can go to work. They want to make sure you can get out. They want to make sure. So, hey, we don't box Donnie in. Nobody puts Donnie in a corner, okay? So,
I mean, but you got to think of this. Baltimore, Maryland has its own set of ghosts and
it's got plenty of that. Yeah, we got a haunted, like super haunted, like roads. Remember we were talking about haunted roads? We got a super haunted road that's like 5 miles from where I live.
Right.
We got and y'all got covered bridges, because I did cover bridges investigations in Virginia and in Maryland in that area, especially going up toward Edgefield.
What is the attraction to cover bridges?
Because of the age of the majority of them. That's the biggest thing, I think, is the age of the majority. Because I went to a bunch of these with different groups and stuff that were doing these things, and they're doing it for free. There were, Facebook groups that got together and go to do this stuff, and I'm sitting there, I'm walking along. I'm like, you people are idiots, first of all. Well, the ones I'm walking along with from those, they're losing their mind, taking pictures of their cigarette smoke, saying it's ectoplasm. Like, are you stuck in the 80s Ghostbuster movie or something? What are you talking about? But I would find stuff while we were going there, like old abandoned barns and stuff like that. That's what would always get my attention. That's the stuff I always wanted to look at.
Well, yeah, and I could see that. Now, there's only one bridge that I've ever seen in my life that I'm particularly kind of weary of, and it's probably about 20 miles from here, and it sits back. It sits back on an old one. I would say two-tire dirt road. That's all you're going to get down in, and it's 2 tires. And you got to go across this bridge. Now, it is made of steel, but yet the planks going across it are wooden.
So wood on top of the steel girders.
Yes. And it freaks me out because, for number one, people still cross this bridge on occasion.
Yeah.
And even though it's not, super high, now you may get hurt if you fall through it, But I mean, there should not be anything worse than that, Yeah. I mean, some moderate injuries, but that's about it. But something about it kind of gives me that vibe, like, why is this here? Because it goes to nowhere.
No,
I mean.
And the same thing with the covered bridges, you're talking about it goes nowhere. There's nothing really associated with it. I mean, it's not like these bridges have a sinister history or anything. They're just old covered bridges that people see, and they immediately go back into the Sleepy Hollow books. That's what they're thinking. That's got to be what they're thinking. So,
I actually visited the actual Sleepy Hollow Bridge. It looks nothing like you expect it at all.
No,
really?
No.
Yeah. It's way dinkier, and it's not covered. There is a covered bridge in the town of Sleepy Hollow that everyone thinks is the actual Sleepy Hollow Bridge, but I actually went on a historical tour of the town, and they showed us where the actual Sleepy Hollow Bridge was, and it looked nothing like it at all. I was like, this is it? Really? And they're like, yep, this is the actual bridge where it was supposed to have happened. I'm pulling up a picture of it right now.
Okay.
But it's not even covered.
Yeah, but still,
and it's like really small. It's like way smaller than I thought it would be.
I know, because the story. Yeah, there you go.
That's it. That's the actual bridge.
So
that thing's
okay. That's Sleepy Hollow Bridge, you know, but they're thinking about it like way the book described it. That's what people are thinking of these.
Yeah. Well, apparently there are covered bridges that look like that, like the way it's described in the book, but they know which bridge it is. This bridge is actually on a road that's like on the bottom of a hill of this really famous and old graveyard.
Yeah,
where it was supposed to have happened. But yeah.
Yeah, but the book, if you read the story makes it sound like this bridge is like a mile long. You know what I mean?
It's not long at all. It's like 2 car lengths. That's it.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. But the story makes it sound like it's super huge and super long. And
he's running away from him forever in it. It seems like.
I remember. I specifically remember. I was in the car with. I was with Tony Merkel at the time. We were on this tour together. It was like this whole thing organized by his podcast. And then they're talking about, we're going to pass the Sleepy Hollow Bridge. And then a couple minutes later, I'm like, did we pass it yet? And they're like, we just passed it. And I look back, I was like, that dinky thing? And they're like, yep, that's the actual bridge.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know. Isn't it funny how folklore and stories can make things appear more than what they are?
Now, the location where it's at is actually pretty creepy. It's a very old-looking forest with a very old, big graveyard. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like this big hill that overlooks it. So the setting itself is old and creepy. I'm just like, man, that thing is small.
Oh, I'm not saying that it doesn't get that creep factor. I'm just saying they kind of blew up this story to make it this big.
Yeah, Ristel. We walked all around. Ristel's asking Donnie, did you check out a cemetery? Yeah, actually, that's what the tour was there for. We actually got at the cemetery and walked all around. It was a pretty interesting place, actually. But the bridge itself, I was like, what the heck?
I want to get with JD Smooth because Northern Kentucky, you know, when I was stationed at Campbell, we used to go all over Kentucky, but I never got a chance to go up northern to see the Sleepy Hollow area that's up there. And that had its own folklore too.
Yeah. I don't know. We're gonna have to do some.
We need an RV.
Spooktober. We're gonna have to do some Spooktober shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We need an RV. We need a month, and we need to just start on one coast and start working our way for a month all the way to the other coast.
Oh, I'd love to have the money to do that.
Guys, I'm sorry to suddenly just change the topic back, but I just wanted to add a few quick things before we leave this Winchester Mystery House topic behind for good.
That's right.
Oh, sorry. I'll on it again. We get talking spooky stuff and see where it goes. It goes everywhere.
Oh, no. I mean, we're still on the topic of spooky stuff. It's all good. But during so a lot of these stories about the Winchester Mystery House were kind of popping up in the newspaper during Sarah Winchester's lifetime. Now, the thing is that during this time, a lot of people who worked for her directly and a lot of her friends and family were very adamant about protecting her reputation because they felt like she was being unfairly labeled as a crackpot. Because a lot of the rumors started swirling around when she was, because of the construction. And there was so much construction happening, right? And there were some associates of her who actually, when that came out in public and said, hey, she's not that crazy. She's actually quite sensible. I've never known her for getting involved in any of the superstitious stuff. So I do feel some kind of obligation to point that out because it would be unfair of us to paint her in one way if, people close to her are trying, directly trying to counter that image that's being portrayed of her by the media. Now, one of the interesting points that they brought up, though, was the whole notion of her feeling guilty about the Winchester thing, like the rifles.
Yeah.
Okay. Because couple things. One, she wasn't the one who invented the Winchester rifle. It was her husband, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So his family.
And there's those accounts of the medium saying that, well, you have to build it, and this is what I see, this is what you gotta do. But the other thing is, people, the mindset of the people in the 19th century, they wouldn't have really been guilted like that, I feel like, culturally, because if you look at the way a lot of these rifles back then historically were marketed, they were marketed as tools to save lives rather than take lives, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the early marketing for the Winchester rifles, it was defend your family, defend your home. You know, the Winchester repeater, the 1873 model was known as the gun that won the West.
Yep.
Right. It was a symbol of prosperity and protection. And it was actually known, the way they would kind of mental gymnastics it in their head was that it would save lives. Right.
Yeah.
That's one. Number two, it's not like Winchester had the monopoly on the repeating rifles. There was also the Henry repeating rifle.
Yeah.
So if people weren't buying Winchesters, they were buying Henrys.
Yeah. But the problem was with that, with the Henrys, they were quote unquote repeaters, but you had to physically get, it was a different mechanism to do it. So
what Winchester really revolutionized was the loading mechanism. Because Henrys, you kind of have to tube load them. It's a real pain in the butt. I actually know this from all the Red Dead Redemption 2 I've played. I'm kind of an expert on the topic now.
There you go.
Whereas the Winchester, you kind of load them. There's like a gate. You just load them one by one from the side. Way easier.
Yep.
So that's what it really revolutionized. But it's not like people didn't have access. Oh, just because Winchester created this rifle, all these people died. I mean, there were other guns available that were, you know, just as viable. I mean,
the Colt company would be in the same boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as revolvers go.
And then once World War I rolls around, and then the Winchesters are pretty much obsolete now because now you got semi-automatic rifles.
Yeah, you got gas operated. Yeah.
So there's that too. But here's the thing. Now I'm gonna contradict my own point. Spiritualism. This is a topic I've been wanting to do for a while. The spiritual movement of the late 19th century leading into the early 20th century.
Yeah.
That spiritual movement was essentially what it was it's this, right? It's this whole paranormal community minus the technology, but mainstream.
Yeah. Because everybody believed it.
Everyone believed it. It was a mainstream thing. It was like one of the most common things that people would get involved in were like these groups, especially people in the upper echelons of society. One of their main, you know, other than standard social gatherings or functions, they would have like these seance meetings. They would have like these town halls that were essentially like the old timey version of these podcasts.
Yeah.
Where you would have speakers on spiritualism, famous mediums or authors, and they would get up on stage in the theater, and all the people who are interested in the topic would be in the audience, and it would be like crowd participation. They'll be asking questions. There would be conversations, very much like we're doing now, and that was mainstream. So a lot of people in Sarah Winchester's, I guess, social status or class would have been involved in that. Yeah. So seances were not that uncommon for people in her social status.
But for her to sit there and tell people that for a long time that she wasn't doing it and wouldn't have anything to do with it, kind of seems contradictory to what got her out there in the first place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm with you. I agree. I mean, that entire area, she was primed for the spirituality movement to actually just take her and run with her. You know what I mean?
I've been meaning to do a podcast in the future about that whole topic because it is pretty fascinating. Because people in this community, right? We always talk about, oh, what would it be like if paranormal cryptid stuff was mainstream? What would it be like if it was like accepted by greater society? And it was at one point. That's what a lot of people here don't.
Didn't we do something on the guy that did the 10 types or whatever it was, the ghost pictures, if I'm not mistaken? I can't remember if it was on one of the other shows or this one, but
I don't think we did it here.
The spirituality guy that he was a photographer. Maybe it was on a episode of Expedition X or Destination. I don't remember some of the other shows that I watched. Yep. But he would take the pictures and it would show supposedly ghosts in the picture and people. The picture of Mary Todd Lincoln with Lincoln on over her shoulder.
Yep.
You know, that famous one that was taken by this guy. That was taken by this guy. And he did a bunch, but he was the only one seemed like that could do it for some reason.
And there's an argument to be made that what we're doing now, this very podcast or these types of podcasts, is essentially the evolved version of that.
Very well could be. Yeah. Very well could be. So Anyway.
Anywho's.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one to do. That really would be a fun one to do. So
I've been planning to do that for a while.
Right. You know, I was just reading some weird facts about the Winchester House, just things. And it said, which is crazy, that, you know, when I was talking about it being a historical landmark, it is.
Yeah.
But it is still personally owned by the Brown family, which the Brown family bought it. She died in 1922. They bought it in 1923, and they've had it open to the public ever since.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so this Winchester Mystery House LLC, they still represent the Brown family, who still
it's owned by the Brown family.
House.
Yep.
Yeah, still.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I'm thinking, that's 100 years. That's over 100 years that the Brown family had that house.
Yeah.
That family has had that house longer than she did.
Yeah. She only had it 38 years, so she built on it the whole way.
Right? They also, you know, because I knew it had to be on a historical register. I knew. And that comes with its own set of problems. When you do something from the Historical Society, that cuts off a lot of, you can't do, you can't stay in the house, you can't do overnight tours, you can't do a whole lot of things. That's why I was asking. So they don't have it per se for an overnight stay investigation. You can't sleep in the house.
No, I don't think you can. I think you just book an actual investigation. Now, I don't know that for sure because I didn't look at it, obviously, but it's on their website. I suggest everybody, hey, look at the pricing and stuff and see what they're charging, because I didn't even go that far into it. I just want to look at the front side, the splash screen and such. So just see what they offer. That's
usually what comes along with historical landmarks. You can't, that's a whole new ball of wax that you can't do that.
Well, and as you can see in some of those pictures, they obviously they renovated over the years as you know, building codes and stuff came in after the fact, because obviously you can see the sprinkler systems in there that obviously were not in there from the get-go. They had, and
that had to be due to fire code or whatever.
Yeah,
that they had
it's all wood. It's a no-brainer, you know.
But
just go ahead.
Do you know that this house, you know, Randy, you talked about it, it had 160 rooms. Do you know it only had 13 bathrooms? 40 bedrooms and 13 bathrooms.
But originally she was talking about they were going to start at that 13, like you were talking about with the 13 ghosts, you know, we were talking about before.
Right.
The same thing. She was originally supposedly going to stop at 13, 13, 13 on all of them. And that just didn't work out that way. So that was the impression that was given by the people working on it, that they thought that they were only going to go to 13s all the way around. And I don't guess she ever told them, said, no, we're going to keep going, and we're going to keep going, and we're going to keep going.
What year was that earthquake?
1906.
1906.
Okay, because they said that after the earthquake that she cleared away the rubble, but she didn't do a whole lot after that.
Yeah. Apparently, she was actually not spending most of her time at the Mystery House itself. She had 7 other properties that she was kind of going back and forth to. So
wouldn't that make more sense? Buy more houses, son. Don't spend all the one out. Buy more houses. Travel. Yeah. You know, you want to confuse the ghost, they'll never know where you are.
You know, maybe if you think about it, maybe she was a little bit more brilliant than we're giving her credit for.
Yeah.
She saw the tourist attraction for the future. Because you know that thing's making money.
Maybe she was trying to set it up like a haunted Disneyland.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't know Disneyland, obviously, but still.
Maybe, because when she died, she left everything to her niece. The house, her personal belongings, clothing, everything.
Yeah.
And her niece sold it all.
Yeah. Which, that's another, if she'd have kept even a third of her clothing and stuff, she could have set that place up like a museum in parts, you know, more so than it is now.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm kind of thinking, if Sarah was so obsessed with this house, And her niece sold it after she left it to her, probably under the pretense that she was going to take care of it.
Yeah.
And she sold everything. Do you think that some of those personal belongings, household items, or anything like that could be haunted by Sarah Winchester?
You would possibly, but was she...
Hard to say.
Was she at rest when she passed too?
Yeah,
it's hard to say. Content? Would anything dare have held on to her to where she would have wanted to stay there?
I don't know.
That would be like asking you, right? Like if and when you pass, are you going to stay as a ghost or are you going to cross over into the light?
Well, this is my thing too. If it wasn't a labor of love to begin with of this house,
yeah,
why would you stay there and continue to build?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why? To contain the ghost into one particular property, one particular house, so they won't follow you? I'm just trying to understand her mindset when I would have just sold the property, and then figured it out later when, if you were truly haunted, which I think she caused a lot of the problems herself by listening to this psychic medium, whoever they were. And I think that she would have, it would have never happened if she would have just sold the property. Because evidently she wasn't having problems at any of her other properties.
That we know of anyway, yeah.
That we know of.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been a great story, a big story. Hey, I'm still traveling around. These things are following me, or something.
Yeah.
But why would you have held on to that property? I don't know. That's just a question. Everybody's going to have to come up with their own, 2 cents on that. Why didn't she just get rid of it? Why did she keep continuing to do this? And live there. And live there.
Yeah. But once again, you're talking about the rich of the day. They didn't have to stay in one place every night. They could have stayed wherever they wanted every night.
That's true. That's true. And I think about that. But why would you do that? I mean, if you were so upset about it, and it took that much out of you, I don't know, Donnie. Some of the things that you have said are kind of ringing true with this. Because honestly, if you're having major issues with the house, what's the first thing you're going to do? I mean, every other story that we've done about families living in a haunted house.
Yeah.
What's usually the first thing that happens? They get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless they're trying to intentionally make them haunted.
Ta-da!
Bingo.
That makes me wonder. I wonder if Mikhail Kalishnikov's house is haunted. You ever wonder that? He's the guy who invented. He's the guy who invented the AK-47.
Yeah,
if anyone's got a body count for his invention, it's that guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
what about Remington? What about Remington?
Yeah.
I mean, we got to think about that too. I mean, all these inventors or gunsmiths who invented these fantastic items. We're just gonna call them items. There's something. There's something. You got to think about it. What about the people who invented black powder? Would you think that they would be haunted?
Well, yeah. I mean, not just them, but black powder. You think that's from Chinese? So I mean, you. But if you're thinking about like dynamite and the people that work in dynamite,
that's not true. Actually, we Koreans invented it. The Chinese stole it from us and took all the credit.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's the story I'm selling.
Okay, we'll go with that.
We'll go with that, Donnie. But I mean, I think there's more to the story. What Donnie is saying, that she may have elaborated a little too much, or stretched the story, or created this thing. Because if she was speaking to a psychic medium, that means she was already in to the supernatural anyway.
Yeah.
She was already involved in it. You know what I mean? Always,
and we don't know that medium went out with her. She probably found another one when she got out to California.
Oh, she probably found a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
Probably a whole lot of things. So yeah, I'm kind of leaning that way now that, we're hearing all the stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we can always say, oh, she was just a crazy lady. Was she?
Or was she crazy like a box?
Exactly. Because, by the time, the earthquake happened and she died in 1922, well, she was well into her elder years. And so she didn't have the time for that, but she made sure to pass that down to a family member.
Mm-hmm.
If this place was crazy haunted and plagued you, why would you put it on your niece? I would have just gave the house to charity and said, sell it for whatever you can get for it, or whatever. I would not give it to a family member. No.
Well, now if the niece lived there with her or lived with her to start with, maybe the niece knew what she was planning and what to do with it. Maybe she was part
I think
of
it's the same niece that actually worked for her as like her personal assistant.
That's
or
what I thought.
Yeah, she would have been there. She would have been there every day that Sarah was there.
Right, but that's what I mean. Why would you give it to your niece if you're experiencing this terror? Why? I would have.
That's why I think she might have been the only one experiencing it too.
Well, either that or, like I said, it's something an elaborate story.
Yep.
Made from something very small and made into something very big. And the niece was already in on it because she already knew that after her aunt passed away, this stuff is going to be worth a god-awful amount. Personal items, because you're talking about the crazy lady. The crazy lady that lives in the Winchester mansion.
Yeah.
I mean, she had to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was bought by the Brown family, and they knew what they were doing by buying it. They knew. But they never lived in it.
Yeah.
So, some people did. Some people did. I'm gonna take that back.
Yeah.
Some people did. They said that some people even lived it up into the 80s and the 90s, but nobody's lived in there since like the early 90s. So, I mean, some people did, but
yeah, because once it started being picked up on these little documentaries and such, it became a tourist attraction. So they're making enough money off of everything now that they don't have to worry about living in it. They don't have to worry about upkeep on it no more. I mean, if this was the case and they were thinking this way, that is the most forward thinking I've ever heard of anybody doing as far as construction goes.
Right. And I, like I said, they're listed on a historical registry, and whoever personally owns that, they have to keep that up. Yep. They can't let it fall, into disrepair. They have to keep it, to keep it.
Grants for it too.
To get grants for it, exactly. So I mean, they have. I don't know. I mean, everybody can make up their mind. I mean, was this lady really crazy, or was she just crazy smart?
Tough to say. It really is, honestly. Without knowing her and without, physically knowing what she was thinking or whatever. I mean, we're just guessing to start with.
Yeah.
Do we believe everything was written? Did she ever write anything in her own hand as to what was going on?
No.
I can't find anything.
No. I mean, a lot of it's just hearsay.
Yeah. And a lot of it was like newspaper sensationalism.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it was the newspapers. Because
that's what I mean. Took a little itty bitty incident and then just blew the whole story up and made it into something that, I mean, let's face it. We got to think about the 1920s. Okay. We got to think about the 1910s and 1900s. Any little story, they were just there was no cap on telling the truth. There wasn't, people on social media coming after you if you told the wrong story, blah, blah, blah. There was none of that. Whatever they said in the newspaper, that's what people believed.
Yep. Because there was supposed to be integrity at the time, too.
Exactly. So if they kind of, like I said, enhance the story a little bit, or a lot, that's what they ended up with. So maybe it wasn't as haunted as she was saying. She just, I don't know, just a crazy smart person knowing what this would turn into. Or maybe not at first, but then began to know after all the years of building.
Or maybe she was a lady with too much money and too much time on her hands who was really bad at construction planning.
Or just really bored. You know, I got to spend this money somehow.
Really awful.
You can't take it with you. You know,
and like you said, with the newspapers, any publicity is good publicity.
If you read like some newspaper articles from back then in like the late 19th century, I mean, my God, you think the media today is bad? I mean, they would sensationalize things like there was no journalistic integrity back then. You know, it's you gotta read some of these stories and look at some of these accounts. Like the types of stuff the newspapers came out with back in the 1800s was just
weird.
Yes.
Yes. You know, and that just leads me on to different stories that we don't have time to go into now because it's time to go. It's been an hour and it's already been an hour and a half. And I realized we talked all over the crazy world about this house, but like I said, we don't know what to think about it.
No, not one bit.
No. Nobody.
But we can all agree we would like to check it out.
Yes. Right.
We all want to go.
We all want to visit just to check out that architecture.
Yep, we want to go. Yep.
What's really bad is
Amanda's Crazy Life said, Donnie, I subbed to your channel. Well, Amanda, I would like to apologize for all the filth.
Yes, he needs to apologize now.
And I am apologize in advance for all the IQ points you're about to lose.
Well, you know,
it takes a really strong person to sub to Donnie Cho.
Yeah.
I had to fly into San Jose when I bought a classic GMC motorhome one time, and I had to pick it up and fly into San Jose, and we went to I can't remember what Santa something or other down there. But anyway, I was right there, and I didn't even realize we were that close to it. I was like, well, we went to Fisherman's Wharf out on the beach there. We went to that, and then we came back. I was like, you know what? I think about it now. I was like, I was stupid. I didn't go to the Winchester House while I was there.
Right.
I wasn't thinking about it. I had 2 3-year-old, 4-year-old kids with me going, yeah, I ain't taking them into that place. You think I am nuts?
What? It's haunted Disney World. You want to take them
there. Exactly. Well, anyway, everyone. All right, let's get out of here. Make sure you tune in to Blondes and Boos tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central. We have Janice Nolan coming on, and she's from Relic Films with Greg Ogles. Very delightful lady. We're going to be talking cryptids and paranormal and whatever we can get into tomorrow night. So make sure you tune into that.
You can say it. She's a lunatic.
Right. Donnie, what you got going on Friday or Saturday?
Saturday, I'm either going to be talking about politics or wrestling or K-pop. I haven't decided yet.
Combine all three. Just combine all three. See where you go with that.
Yeah.
And then, that Randy, what do we got on Truth or Tinfoil this Sunday at 5 p.m. Central?
I'm not for sure yet because I may be going fishing Saturday night. That means I may not be back in town in time for it on Sunday. But
yeah, he's going fishing.
I am not.
Well, he's going to be doing both.
When I go fish, I fish, all right?
Oh.
He's going to be, going to be fishing. You know what I mean?
You only need to hold the rod with one arm. The other arm is free. You know, you could totally.
That's right.
Make this first motion.
Trust me. Well, there's a King of the Hill revival coming up, and I am already psyched about it. All right. So, damn it, Bobby. Let's go.
All right. Well, this Saturday night on Into the Bizarre, I believe it is going to be Bigfoot Michigan Rob and Monica Rollins. Krista and I will be in Jefferson City, our capital, and we're going to be at Missouri State Penitentiary. We're going to try to come on live at some point throughout Rob's show, or just doing some live, whatever we can do. So we're going to try and get that on there.
Too soon.
It's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Brandi, hold on. Jefferson City's your capital? I always thought it was St. Louis.
No.
Jeff City. Yep. Yeah.
Well, you learn something new every day.
She might not have made it for Truth or Tinfoil either. So
I didn't know that. I always thought it was St. Louis.
No, that's what everybody thinks. And I'm like, no.
Oh, man.
No.
I don't know why they would think that. Yeah, John Redcorn. John Redcorn.
That was too soon. Too soon. Shot,
so. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But anyway, have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Laters.